Great Depression, and I started to like when the other kids were watching like Transformers or any of the '80s stuff, the Thundercats or anything like that. I was watching Laurel and Hardy, Charlie Chaplin, W.C. Fields, Three Stooges, the Marx Brothers, and I don't know. It's just being able to watch those classic comedians and those classic actors like Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, and really getting the studying a character and being able to imitate it because my mom could tell you like when I was a kid I used to imitate every character I saw on TV because and I got better at it and better at it and I guess that's what really got it into it for me. Being able to be a role or be a character was always a big thing for me. And I just had a blast with it.
And so, when you spoke to Sarah, she had the idea she wanted you to be in this play, or it just came out up out of the clear blue sky.
I had contacted her previous to that because I saw that she was doing stuff with Heart Theater and doing a lot of casting, and she actually I had contacted her and said, I would love to do something. I want to do some performing or do something, just for fun, just to get back out there because I love being in front of an audience. And the surprise, and I'm gonna be grateful to her till the day I die for this. But she contacted me back and said, I think the role of Joey would be perfect for you. And I'm like, okay, great, awesome. When can I come down and audition? She said, no, Charlie, I'm offering you the role. I was like, okay, well, thank you. And I went down there, and it was my first time being in a professional musical, even though I had done 4 years of men's chorus where we in high school, and Sarah and I were in high school chorus together, and that's how we knew each other. And I'd done a ton of that all 4 years of high school, and I loved it so much. And this was my first chance being with a professional company, and in a lot of ways, it kind of made Heart my home theater, because they gave me my first shot.
Now, I don't remember per se the role of Joey, but I remember the show.
Mhm.
I thought, who would want to see a show about a zombie musical prom? But it was fun though, you
Yeah,
know. So who's Joey? What was his role?
Joey was kind of like the troublemaker, the jock of Enrico Fermi High School, and because it's set in the '50s, and he was kind of the troublemaker, and I mean sneaking the flask into the prom, and he was the football player and stuff, and I
So
don't know,
that was a little typecasting.
a little typecast, it's like I see where you're going with this, so I play a jerk whenever I can, right? So it was just a fun role to do, and it as doing a professional musical, especially this was my first chance doing a show multiple times because we did about 12 performances, and being able to think on your feet and stay on point with the music and your cues and your lines and everything. I mean, it was a little bit of a struggle at first because I hadn't really done anything like that in years. But Mark Jones, he was the director. He and Sarah really stuck with me and helped me out tremendously. And I'm going to be eternally grateful to them for giving me that opportunity because in a lot of ways it gave me that spark and that ambition, in my life again, and gave me my purpose. So
So anyway, that's kind of cool.
yeah.
And the thing that always amazes me, Charlie, not only about you but all performers, is the fact that like the memorization of the lines. Is that difficult for you?
It can be, depending on the size of the role. I know that I had some with the smaller roles. It was, I kind of took to it pretty quickly. But when I got into bigger roles, like the ones I've had the past year or so, and not just with theater, but the film roles I've had as well, it's just you memorize them the best you can. Of course, when you're doing a film, it's a little bit more. You get multiple takes to get it right, but with theater, you got to be right on it. And I think the biggest challenge, or the first challenge that I had with learning a big role, was when I played the Prince last year in the Ballad of Romeo and Juliet for American Myth Center, because I had four big monologues and I had to memorize them and give a lot of passion to them. And I played the apothecary, and he had a big one too. And I don't know, that kind of gave me the kind of trained my brain, I guess you could say, to do that.
Now that was in the language, which I didn't see that particular show. That was Shakespearean language.
Yeah, we did the show. It was a minimalist type of thing, and we did it at the vacant lot across the 68 Haywood across from the Civic Center, and it was and Aaron Snook is the guy who directed it and wrote it, and Aaron has a great passion for Shakespeare, and he actually had taken he'd reworked the traditional Shakespearean script of Romeo and Juliet, and had done, but he, instead of have it set in England, he had it set in Reconstruction era North Carolina. So we're doing the lines, but we're doing it with a Southern accent, you know. And that was cool because I kind of had to relearn my twang because I'm a local Asheville kid, so I kind of had that going for a while. But once I got it, it was great, and it taught me a lot of as far as passion in the role and stuff too, and my first Shakespeare play really too.
Talk about some of the other stuff you've done. I've seen you in a bunch of things as well. What else have I seen you in locally?
Yeah, well, Zombie Prom was the first,
Right.
and then right after that, almost immediately, I auditioned and got the role for All Is Calm, The Christmas Truce of
Okay.
1914.
Talk a little bit about it. Great show too. If
Yeah.
people don't know it, but what's that show all about?
Well, I definitely want to say, NC Stage is really professional. I loved working for Charlie Flynn McKeever, and Simone Bernhardt. She was the music director. Um, that kind of got me back to my roots, being in a men's chorus for 4 years. That was amazing for me. And of course, learning the history really of the events surrounding that from World War One. These soldiers are putting everything aside so they can celebrate Christmas and have this one night of solidarity.
Can you imagine?
Oh
You know,
God, it was so inspirational.
and they put together. I don't know the year I saw it. They put together a great cast. Also, the
Yeah.
three folks up front,
Hmm.
but supers. So you were in the chorus and that.
Hmm.
What else?
Well, and I do want to say, going back to the actors that you were talking about, Michael McCauley, I got to be in there with him, and with Katori Swan. Um, After that, I kind of I started auditioning for film stuff too, and I got a couple little film roles here and there. One in particular was a student film for AB Tech. This girl was doing a final project about depression because she was studying psychology, and I played the main role in that, and that
What,
was
the press guy?
yeah, I was the press guy exactly.
So you can
Who'd
do
have thunk it, right?
right. You can do that well. Yeah.
I try, just the tears. I mean, yeah. But that was a fun thing to do. And then last year really started the waves, I guess you could say, for me, because I played the Prince and the Apothecary in the Ballad of Romeo and Juliet for the American Myth Center, and then I did Hamlet for Montford. That was my first Montford show. I played Rosencrantz, which was a lot of fun. And then last year I got to go back to Hart in the fall because they had the show, the Bad Seed going on. It was directed by Wanda Taylor, and I guess the guy that played Mr. Daigle had to bow out. So I volunteered and I got the role, and I got to go back home to Hart. And
What a shame. It's the one show I think I missed at Heart. They do great stuff out there.
man, they're
I'm sorry I
phenomenal.
missed that too. The lead was Amanda. Was that who was the lead?
Amanda Klinikowski,
Yeah.
yeah, and Abby Welchel was she played Rhoda,
Right.
and 11-year-old girl. She's a cutie. She's gonna have a great career. Like she rolled in there the first day apparently and knew the script back to front. So she was. I mean, she's amazing. And her father was in the play too, Adam. And Adam and I have kind of we've become a writing and comedy team as well. We're hoping to put stuff out soon. But Adam played Leroy, the janitor, who ends up getting murdered by his own daughter, essentially. But it was Adam was terrific in that role, and he's blossomed so much as an actor now too. But
What's his last name?
Welchel, Adam
No,
Welchel,
no, yeah.
yeah, and he's incredible. Working for Wanda was a lot of fun. I got to work for her again this year with Arsenic and Old
We'll
Lace.
talk about that role too. That was the last thing I think I saw you in.
Yeah.
And just a lot of fun. But you're upgrading. I mean, I'm impressed.
Well, thank you.
From going to a depressed guy, all of a sudden became president of the United States.
Who'd have thunk it, right?
Exactly.
You know.
So how is that playing Teddy Roosevelt?
Oh, so much fun. And what's cool about it, and Wanda and I had talks about, because she wanted to put me in a main role, and we'd had talks about how the character was going to be and what my approach to it, my process was going to be. And Teddy Brewster, of course, he doesn't really have much of an identity as himself because he's crazy just like the rest of the family. So he adopts the most alpha personality he can find, as Teddy Roosevelt. So it was so much fun getting to play someone who had so much conviction about what he believed, even though it wasn't necessarily true.
It
You know?
wasn't?
Well, no, I mean he was.
I thought it was all true.
Oh, well, for his life. I mean, he's like, for instance, the whole thing about he ended up burying the victims in the cellar, but in his mind, he was President Teddy Roosevelt burying yellow fever victims in the Panama Canal. You know,
And that's
so
what I
it's
thought it was. You know,
exactly.
I didn't realize that there were real victims. But there too, I think that was the first time you had to play the trumpet too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was such a.
Well, had you ever played the trumpet before?
I other than dabbling with bass guitar and drums and a little bit of piano, I have never played any brass in my life. And that bugle itself was such a. It was kind of a they kind of had to put it together because it was I guess it was just they had to put a different mouthpiece on it or something. But it took me a long time to get that. But once I got it, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I
Great
heard
prop.
that, and I think I saw the dress rehearsal or something,
Mhm.
and they said you kept getting better at it. You know,
Yeah.
so the reason I ask that because that's going to be your next gig. You're going to do a trumpet concert or something.
Well, I guess now's a good time. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a jazz trio. Definitely some Miles Davis, John Coltrane thrown in.
So you brought the trumpet with you today?
It's out in the waiting room. I was gonna
Bummer. Well, you know, it's funny too because Charlie, kind of an interesting guy, in that he seems to do a lot of different things. You know, so and we'll talk about some of the different things too. So in addition to being an actor performer,
Mhm.
got into it late. You mentioned you were a singer in terms of various chorus groups, but you're also a musician too, and not so much a musician, but you perform as a singer. What's that all about?
Well, like I said, I started off with my men's chorus in high school, and I was going to go to Mars Hill to. I actually auditioned for their musical theater department. Didn't work out, but
Their loss.
yeah, I mean, well, they were changing directions, and at the time, DeWitt Tipton, who was a mentor of mine, he did a lot of the all county choruses, and when I was in high school, and then now he's at Furman University, and he actually played for me during my audition, and he's been a dear friend since then, and Mars Hill was just going in a different direction. I guess they just didn't see anything in me academically, just truth being told, because my GPA wasn't high enough, and they'd offered me a scholarship prior, but it happens, it is what it is. I feel like I got more real world experience, after that because I became a member of Asheville Symphony Chorus for 6 years, and I got to perform at Thomas Wolfe and perform, all kinds. I want to say we did Handel's Messiah, we did the Verdi Requiem, we did Mozart, a little bit of Beethoven, just a little bit of everything, and the playing with the symphony, of course, singing as part of the chorus, but working with all those great musicians, was just incredible.
I'm saying that must be a shift, though, from singing as part of a chorus to all of a sudden being on stage just by yourself. You know,
Sure,
it's a
sure.
big shift, I guess. You know, it's
Well, and the big shift for me was it wasn't so much. I guess around 2012 was when I left the symphony chorus, and it had nothing to do with them per se. It was just the fact that I creatively had reached that glass ceiling, and I knew I wanted to do more than just be a singer. Like I would want to do solos or eventually what would become acting, and I just knew it was time to make a transition, and I found other things to get into to express myself creatively. So,
talking about that. It seems that one of the cool things about you, I think, is the fact that you're always finding something different to get into. When we were talking
yeah,
off the air
yeah,
about a mutual friend of ours, Joe Calderwood,
yes,
and all of a sudden now you're going to be doing podcasts.
yeah.
And how'd you get into that?
Well, I've been a fan of podcasts for I'd say about 5 or 6 years. Since it started becoming a big medium, and Joe actually contacted me, and he's written this series, the Clint Kennedy crime series, and the first book is called Stained Fortune, and it's done really well on Amazon. And he's wanting to turn it into a podcast and eventually a play and a film. And Joe and I guess the universe just had a whatever, but Joe contacted me and said, "Hey, I'd be interested in doing this." And originally we had talked about me just being an actor on it because I've been wanting to do voiceover work for a while. And after our first collaboration, I saw, with talking with him, it's like, not only could I do this, I would love to help with the casting. I'd love to help with the creative end of this too because I believe in the project. Joe's a great writer. And I think it's going to be a great project once we get going. We've actually got auditions scheduled for December the 7th, and I've reached out to the acting community, and I've got a lot of people that I've worked with that are coming in to read for it, and some new faces as well. So I'm looking forward to casting that and see what happens.
And that must be fun for you too, to not only be the actor, but now seeing the other side of it or putting the whole thing together.
Oh yeah.
Will you be acting in it also?
Yeah, the way it's looking right now, Joe thinks I'd be great to read for the role of Abe, and I've read the script, and I think it'd be a great role. I mean, eventually, I mean, for me, it all comes down to the creative performance. I mean, I'm going to read for it, but if we find someone that's a better fit, I'm definitely, I've got no problem with stepping aside. But I definitely would like to be an actor in this as well. So.
Now, to Joe's credit, that he actually then he wrote the novel, which I read, very exciting novel.
Yeah.
And then he had to turn it into a screenplay. Did he do that, or somebody else do it?
He actually turned it into a rough draft. He's actually, I mean, Joe's incredible with what he can do because he's turned a lot of taken Stain Fortune and turned it into a screenplay as of right now. So that way the actors, when they come in, can audition, looking at a script. But he's able to turn it into that, and it's going to make a phenomenal production as far as what we do. So the transition is going to be there. It's just a matter of us getting it honed down to what we need.
And I love your idea too that you're starting out you started out with the novel, wrote it,
Right.
and then it's becoming a podcast, and you said that eventually it's going to become hopefully a movie and going from there. Is that a normal transition for podcasts to eventually become movies, or?
I've never really known it to be, but I've kind of taken when he was presented me with this, my vision or my idea for it was it's kind of taken the transition into the radio dramas back in the 40s, like the Green Hornet or Crime Busters, anything like that. It's about bringing back that medium because we're going to be, each episode of the podcast is going to be chapters of the book progressively, and then once that if that picks up and we get a big following on that, it's like, okay, obviously we've validated doing a play and we've validated doing a film, and yeah, I mean, it's got the potential to really grab your attention. Joe wrote these books based on a lot of his experience because he started out as an accountant, as a CPA.
Exactly, yeah.
And he did a lot of corporate banking, so.
And what's so cool about the book and the whole story is, who would have thunk a story about, an accountant or CPA could be interesting, but he made it interesting.
Oh my God, it's a phenomenal book, and the whole series. I can't wait to sit down and actually dive into the whole series.
I'm trying to think, is the second book out yet too?
I don't know for sure. I've got the info on it.
Okay,
here.
well, just tell people look for Joe Calderwood, or you'll find them, and just
Yeah.
talented guy, amazing guy. But also, it just points out a little bit about you, Charlie, too. That it seems like you're not afraid to take on new tasks. You do different kinds of things.
Yeah.
You mentioned too, you off the air, you kind of caught a break where you work. They're pretty accommodating to your schedule.
Oh, I couldn't. Yeah, I work at Harmony Motors over on Brevard Road, and they're just so supportive of my endeavors with acting and everything. I work full time for them. They let me off whenever I have a gig or anything coming up, and they just they want me to follow my dreams. And at the same time, they're giving me the opportunity to work for them. And they're the fourth dealership I've worked for. I've worked in the car business for years too, and just. It's the perfect harmony, no pun intended, but it's definitely the perfect fit for me.
And you raise a good point, I think, about the idea of having people to support you in what you do. You mentioned mutual friend Sarah Fowler. He gave you push.
Yeah.
We'll give a shout out for Jeff Messer.
Oh, Jeff's incredible.
Funny story about Jeff, who's been a guest on the show as well. You worked for him, I think you told me, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he reappeared in your life?
Yeah, it was interesting. Jeff actually was my assistant manager at Extended Stay about 10 years ago when I was working full-time in the jewelry business, but I needed a part-time thing, And Jeff turned out to be my boss. And after I left Extended Stay, we kind of kept in touch through social media a little bit. And then 2011, I got an invite from him to go out to Parkway Playhouse because he'd written he'd taken the story of Dracula and made it into a stage production. And it was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen.
I haven't seen that one, yeah.
He's actually thinking about taking it off the shelf and dusting it off and bringing it back.
Well, incredible thing also about Jeff Messer, he seems to do that. That he also wrote the two. Which were you in both Robin Hoods?
I actually was cast last year for Legend of Sherwood, but I couldn't. I had to back out because I was right in the middle of Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet. You know, it was the end of the run of one and beginning of another, so I bowed out of that one. But you know, I talked to Jeff about Quest for Justice, which was the one we did this summer, and we're both very much, you know, we wanted to work together. We've been wanting to work together for a while. And originally, it's a funny story. I got cast as a Nottingham soldier, like I was going to play in the original, which was great for me because it was like, okay, I just got done doing this big role with Shakespeare in Love. I want to do a small role before I roll into Arsenic and Old Lace. And George Hurd, who was the guy that was going to play Friar Tuck, had to back out because his father was terminally ill, and he had to bow out. And Michael Lilly and Jeff said, "Well, why don't we have Charlie do it?" And they asked me, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd be honored to play Friar Tuck." And it turned out to be one of the most fun roles I've ever done.
And it seems that I guess that's kind of a key to what you do. If you're getting fun with it, that's really cool.
Oh yeah.
If you can get a play, I mean, not all plays are fun, but that play was certainly fun. Friar Tuck.
That whole play, I'll expound upon that. I mean, it was just and I've said this on social media and everything. That whole experience was just magic for me because I was with a great cast, with a lot of people that I worked with before, a lot of new faces, but we just meshed. We were a cast of 30 that just meshed perfectly. And the fact that we were so successful because Jeff was amazing with the advertising and the promotion, and we ran for 5 weeks, drawing 300 people a night for 3 nights, you know, for 5 weeks, and then our final performance was 514 or something, you know.
And also, and I guess you worked with a bunch of people, but also you got to work with Michael Lilly, who's
God. Yeah,
an incredible thing to be able to put that thing together. You had how many people in that cast?
32.
Yeah,
32
and
people.
fight scenes and battle scenes.
My first time doing stage combat too, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah, because I got to play the soldier and I got
Oh,
to
that's
play.
right. Well, how was that for you?
Oh, it was great. You know, it was being once again going back to watching the old movies as a kid. It made me feel like Errol Flynn. You know, even though I wasn't Robin Hood, I was a soldier. But having a sword in my hand and being able to do all that was just so much fun. It was great.
Was that a difficult thing to learn?
No, well, the choreography part, you got to be patient with it because you know you're out there with real weapons. You don't want to hurt anybody, and it was just we had great choreographers. Deanna Brain was our fight choreographer, and she is incredible. She worked with us on Shakespeare in Love, and she's very patient, and she's got the right motivation for teaching, you know, stage combat. Of course, we had Jared Schultz.
Who's the best? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, he played Cedric in that, and Jared is an incredible actor, fight choreographer, performer. He breathed fire for us for Shakespeare in Love. That was cool. But Jared's a good friend, and it's an honor to share a stage with him for sure.
Very talented guy, also too.
Oh God, incredibly.
Where do you see yourself going from here?
Well, excuse me. Well, I definitely want the whole podcast situation to to take off, you know, with Joe and I. I want that to become a big thing for me. I'm also currently in the middle of my 3rd class with Screen Artist Talent over on Riverside Drive. I'm one of John Minnick's students, and John's become like a mentor and a father figure to me. He's an incredible, amazing career in Hollywood as a character actor and a television actor. I feel extraordinarily blessed. I'm hoping February when pilot season rolls around, you know, John and we've talked about my progress and stuff, and he sees something there. So I hope that something works out. You know, I hope that I'm able to seize that opportunity as well. And I couldn't ask for better guidance on both fronts of theater and, you know, TV and film. I'm very blessed.
One of the things I think you do also well, Charlie, is that I think you're very active. Not only think I see you're very active in social media.
Yes.
And you have a pretty good following in it too. You know, that people seem to notice you, or you know. But the point I make, Charlie, to a lot of performers, and some get it, some don't, is it's a line from Ken Blanchard. I say it often. Mm-hmm. He's a management theorist, and he said, if you don't toot your own horn, somebody else will use it as a spittoon. You know,
that's the truth.
But what's so good about what you do is if you're in something, you'll tell people about it and invite people to find out about it. But I'm surprised some people don't do that at all, you know.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing because right now, I mean, when the advent of social media, the digital age, and everything that we're in right now, it's like, how could you not become famous or make a name for yourself with all the platforms and resources available to you? So I take advantage of everything I can get my hands on. I pursue it the same way I pursue it with acting, because it's like I a lot of people that I know would rather just be a theater actor, or they'd rather be just a film. When I got going with this and Zombie Prom, once again, thank you, Sarah. Uh, Once that got started, it was like I started auditioning for everything I get my hands on, and I've had some great opportunities come my way. You know,
If folks want to follow you or find out more about Charlie Wilson, what's the best bet?
Facebook, you'll want to if you go in the search engine, you just type in Charlie Wilson actor slash singer. That's my actor page, where I post all upcoming gigs, and I also do I also plug other theater companies, even if I'm not involved in the production. Like, I like to help everybody out if I can, by promoting their stuff too. Um, I'm on Twitter. It's at Showtime Chuck on Twitter. You can follow me on there, and I'm also on Instagram at Chaz Showtime.
So if you want to find Charlie Wilson, you'll find them.
Oh yeah, I'm out there.
I look forward to seeing you this coming year and lots of things. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thanks for coming on board.
Oh, Blaine, this has been a pleasure. I hope to do it again.
And next time, I told you we're going to put you on the spot. We're going to have you sing.
Oh, I'm down for that. You have me on record. I will sing
Great.
the next time for sure.
As Charlie works his way out of the studio, I'd like to thank him for coming on board. Also mention that support for this show and WPVM is underwritten by the Grill Movie House, Asheville's alternative cinema. The Grill Movie House is an independent, locally owned 3-screen cinema located in the downtown Asheville area. For current features, visit the Grill website at grillmoviehouse.com. It's also my pleasure to introduce, to talk about 2 shows coming up in the Asheville area. And the first features 2 of my friends, and they are Paula Hankey and Peggy Ratuz. And they're going to be doing a show featuring the music of Etta James, Music of the Blues. That's going to be on Saturday, November 30th, 8:30 p.m. at ISIS in Asheville, and definitely worth checking out. Also, another show that's opening, I can't believe it's coming up, December 5th, 8th, and 12th to the 15th, Christmas Bells. That's going to be at a Broad Little Theater. That should be a fun show to see as well. And fun is the real key to our show today, not only having Charlie Wilson, but having a relatively new friend of mine, but also a good friend of mine. And he is the, we'll say, the infamous Thomsen Guth. Is that how you pronounce it, Thomsen?
That's right.
And Thomsen, you can wave to all your fans in Facebook world. They're all watching you out there. And Thomsen is just an amazing guy who's become a good friend over the last couple of months. And I put it in Facebook today, Thomsen, I call you a handyman extraordinaire.
I saw that.
Okay, not just a handyman, but a handyman extraordinaire. He's also a retired construction supervisor. He's married to a wonderful RN, I like that, wonderful RN, Linda, and he's also the father of 4 and grandfather to 11. You can keep count of all of them, all 11?
Yeah,
Do you know their names?
just their first names.
And do you remember their birthdays?
Lord, no, Linda does that.
I was going to say, that must be amazing.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable.
And Thomsen, how I got to know Thomsen, we'll talk a little bit about your background, but somehow Thomsen fell into my lap actually through a mutual friend, my realtor, Brent Russell, and he said, hey, if you need some help around the house, Thomsen's the guy to contact. And so you've been doing this handyman stuff, but in another life you did all this stuff as well. You were in the Navy, I think you told me. What else have you done in your life?
Well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. Stayed there, went to school there. Went in the Navy after that 4 years. Vietnam vet. Got out of the Navy, went and got a degree from the University of Tennessee in Martin. And then got into construction, and I've been a construction superintendent ever since.
Now, your degree, you were telling me, was not having to do anything with construction. Is that right?
Not a bit. It was agriculture, which I still love. It's just life took me a different way, financially, if you will.
And so how did then, you were in agriculture, you studied agriculture, but then you got into construction. What got you into that?
Well, my father was an architect. My brother-in-law here in Asheville is an architect, and my whole family's been in construction. I guess it was a natural lead, and I seemed to fit pretty good and knew enough about it to to do a decent job. I only worked for one company here in Asheville, and that was years ago. And then I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and worked a long time over there, building restaurants mainly.
Okay. And then you also told me the story, too. It's kind of an interesting one, that when you got married to Linda, I guess, you also decided you no longer wanted to live in a big home. And so then you had a whole series of adventures. Talk a little bit about what you did.
We had a little mini farm down in South Carolina, just below Charlotte. And when I retired and she retired, we had a camper at the time, but we got a rather large fifth wheel and sold the house, sold everything we had, and hit the road for 6 straight years, spending summers out in Montana and Colorado, winters at the beach or near one of our grandchildren, and just traveled around and lived in 400 square feet for 6 years.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, yeah. We met some wonderful people, really, but they're all spread out over the United States. So if you want to go out to dinner with friends, you just can't do it. They're too far away, but we keep in touch.
I was going to say, nice to have friends, I guess, all over the country as a result of this.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, we have kids over a lot of the country, so it works out good.
How is it like living in 400 square feet?
It's pretty good. We stayed outside a lot, and I think the biggest thing was we had 2 sinks in the bathroom. So I got to clean my own sink all the time, and that was a biggie.
What got you then out of being in a 400 square foot camper? How come you shifted?
How does what?
How come you shifted back into, now you live in a mansion?
Well, we were traveling around, and which we enjoyed, and Linda especially wanted some community. She wanted to find some roots, and we had lived in Asheville and built a house here 20 years ago. And Memphis wasn't our home, Asheville was. So we just made a decision. A house came available, and so we sold the camper, moved back to Asheville, and we really enjoyed it. She's gotten really involved, and I have too, to a point. Doing my handyman, I'm meeting a lot of nice people. But that's why we're back.
Well, and we'll talk about Linda in a second in terms of getting involved, but that must have been a shift also from going from 400 square feet to all of a sudden now you're 1,100 square feet.
Yeah.
I think he told you. That must seem like huge.
Oh, it's wonderful. Golly. It's just, we have our own closets. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so you were able to get used to it fairly quickly.
Oh, yeah, you betcha. But we don't want any bigger.
Okay.
We're good to go.
Just like our house. It's just it's similar in size, you know, when you come into our house. It's just...
Yeah, ours is about like you're upstairs.
I was going to say, or the bathroom.
Yeah,
something along
maybe
those.
so.
But going back to Linda, so one of the things I think it's great about both of you, Linda is still working, I think, full-time, is that correct?
Part-time.
Part-time as what?
She's a home infusion nurse.
Okay. But also been very impressed, and we'll give a plug for what Linda's coming up with. She's also got active in women's song.
Yes, she auditioned and got accepted, and there are big concerts coming up the 1st of December. Not the first part of December.
Okay, and that's going to, the 2 shows she's
2
going
shows,
to do.
Saturday night and Sunday matinee, and you and Cynthia are expected to be there.
Is that it? You'll be taking attendance. But women's song, definitely folks should check out. Great group. And had Linda sung before?
Oh, yeah. She's dabbled in acting and singing, whatever. She's done some commercials in Charlotte. She's into it pretty good. Makes her happy.
Okay, are you going to sing? Do you sing with her also?
Oh, no. No,
I can't ask you to sing.
No.
No, oh, no.
You can ask all you want, but they won't do any good.
So, you then decided to start your own business, I guess. And when did you make that decision?
I did that because when we moved back here and sold the camper and et cetera, Linda went back to work part-time and I wasn't. So it's just a boredom, a little extra money too. And, I really enjoyed it because I don't have the pressure of a schedule like building a restaurant or whatever. And once again, meeting some nice people, and I've got all my tools with me, and I just go, and it's nice.
What's the name of the business?
My home.
And I love the subtitle. What do you call it? My
A
home.
very handy man.
Okay. And you are certainly a very handy man that can do lots of, incredible what you can do. It's what you can't do. And then even when you can't do something, and we'll give you some examples of it, you find a way to do it, And talk about one of the neat projects you did for us that Cynthia, my beautiful bride, had this idea. She wanted a place for her cat to hang out. And so talk about that project.
Yeah, Cynthia called me about building a catio. She said, "Can you build a catio?" And I said, "Sure. What is it?" And I had no idea. So she called California, got the plan sent for a 8 foot by 10 foot catio, which is a screened-in room outside your door. But before we did that, I put one outside her bedroom window, mounted to the house, just a small one, 3 feet by 2 feet, where she can open the window and the cat can go out there and see the outside, all screened in with pet screen, and it really came out nice.
It's almost too bad we don't have the pictures handy. We should have shown it. But what a great, when I heard about it, I said, you got to be crazy. Who would want like an area for the cat? But the cat loves it.
That's good. And it's pretty neat. It looks good on the house, too.
No, it's beautiful. But you were talking the other day, you had problems with it. Cynthia always wants something else done after she comes up with an idea. So Thomsen built this beautiful window catio or whatever, and did a great job with it. Cat loves it. But Cynthia wanted to have a crystal hung from it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you had to get in it, the catio?
I got in it. It wasn't getting in was a problem. It was getting out that was a problem.
Well, fortunately, you made it in time for today's show.
Yeah.
But it's not a big area for a person to get into.
No, just a single double hung window, and it was little.
Yeah. But what a great idea for people who own cats,
Oh, yeah, it gets them outside, and they don't have to worry about them.
Right, and they're okay. Go ahead.
And put it on any size window. You could make it on a triple window if you wanted to, and mount it to the house or go to the ground, just a small area for them to get outside.
Was that fun for you, doing something you'd never done before
Oh,
like
yeah,
that?
I got to design and build on site. It was good.
How about something contractors tell me they do this, or handymen do this? Do you ever go to YouTube?
Oh, yes.
Talk about that process, that you're asked to do something. And I'm terrible at reading stuff, or manuals you get now are terrible for the most part. So you'll look at YouTube to get ideas?
Oh, yeah, if I run into a problem like under a sink or putting in something that's new technology, I'll Google it and see how to do it.
Does
Works
that
out
help?
great. Oh, yeah. The only way I can do it.
Did you do it for the catio? Did you find anybody who had even done one?
No, just a lady out in California, and she sent prints to Cynthia, and I just went off of them.
I'm thinking out loud. It's almost too bad we didn't take pictures of this or do a Facebook
Yeah,
Live
going
video
up.
of you putting it up. Because then go from there. So you did this beautiful one for the window, and then you did another one that's kind of a sad story I'll mention in a second, but you did another one for the outside cats.
Right.
And that was not just a little one. That was a pretty big
Yeah, that
facility.
was 8 by 10 with a solid roof, outside your French doors.
Yeah.
And pet screen, floor to ceiling, and several shelves so the cats can jump up to different elevations. It's pretty well drawn out, but it's like a big screen porch.
Yeah, it is.
That's what it's going to become. Yeah, that's right.
So we had Thomsen build this beautiful outside catio where it's the outside. It looks great. And the only problem is he did it. We got the outside cats there first night, and then they got out on the first night. So if anybody finds 2 cats in the Fairview area that are looking for a home, we have the outside home for them.
You got an empty catio, that's right.
It's a beautiful facility. And I just think that's a great idea, Thomsen, for other folks to consider. Especially if they have cats, wouldn't that be a great thing for other people to get in their homes?
Oh, yeah, I think so. The big one, a lot of people won't have room for that or will not want it on their house, but it looks like a screen porch.
It does, exactly.
And the pet screen that I installed it makes it darker than a screen porch, so it's kind of private. Looks nice.
Do you enjoy that too, when somebody asks you, such as the Greenfields, to come up to do something that you've never done before? Like, is that kind of fun for you to come up with something you've never done before?
Yeah, it is. I like to figure things out, if that's what you mean. Just look at something and think about it. I usually wake up in the morning if I'm building something. I guess my favorite thing would be go to my shop and build furniture. Not large furniture, just small furniture for grandchildren, steps, stools, a little desk. Of course, all my grandchildren have tons of it. And I do a lot of wood burning, put a scene on there, or maybe brand their name on it. Cinderella, whatever. And it's and Linda paints them after I would burn them.
Well, talk about even stuff you've done for us. So we'll come up with an idea, and I'll call Thomsen up and say, do you have a better way to do it? Inevitably, you do. So, for example, you made for us, you made some nice bookcases,
Right.
downstairs. I'm trying to think, what else have you made?
The
made for us?
fireplace mantle.
Okay, tell the story of that.
You had a solid board over your gas fireplace, and they had cut a hole in the drywall for the speaker, I guess it was,
For
the
the
television
TV,
or
yeah.
whatever. Television hung above it. So I took that board off, and you don't think that contractor's listening, do you? I took his board off and made an L-shaped shelf, which covered the hole in the drywall and made another mantle up there.
That's great.
And
Because,
it covered everything.
and I will put some other stuff on the mantle.
Yeah.
It's really cool. We'll put your picture on the mantle.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
a good idea.
You have to get a picture or the picture I took today. Then Thomsen, the other thing, like, I'm funny, Thomsen, but little things you do make a big difference, you know. So,
You're definitely my best customer.
so far, but
Yeah, so
a lot of others. Well, no, other people are going to hear about the show today. Also, on Facebook Live, I wrote about you, and you got a job at that as well. But like a little thing, like I had the other day, you came over and put some hooks on, and I don't know why I love them, but I do, you know. And talk about that process.
He's a hook nut.
Yeah, no,
He's got 3 closets I'm aware of. Make that 4.
yeah.
And he likes I'm gonna say contemporary hooks for his clothes. You know, all chrome, brushed nickel, whatever. And it seems like we put up something in all 4 closets.
No, but I never thought about it until we saw you. That what a pleasure! Like I have my jeans, and I don't like hanging them up, and so I just put it on a hook. You know, or my sweatshirt, put it on a hook.
Makes sense.
Or you told me yesterday my winter coat, put it on a hook, and it's amazing that you can find not only a place for any hook, but you can install it in just about. You installed it in wood, you installed it on cement too, or you installed it just about
Yeah,
everywhere.
we put some on brick on your block wall.
Yeah.
We put the shelf on the block wall, and hangers in the drywall, whatever. It's hung
but it's-
pictures.
But it's amazing. You can put a hook or install stuff now in just about any surface.
Oh yeah, just about. Of course, they got glues and screws for everything. And I like keeping up with what's happening in the whole construction industry. It's gotten so expensive to build now.
Yeah.
And your house has been a good proving ground, really.
Well, even another thing you did for us, and again, I'm just mentioning this in terms of if people are looking for a guy who not only can do a lot of good work, but who also come up with a lot of clever ideas to do it, Thomsen's your man. I mean, it's a compliment to you. I've worked with lots of folks, but you're up there with people I really admire and
Well,
respect.
thank you.
Talk about 2 other projects you did for us. So we have a beautiful unit in my office, but they didn't have shelves. You know, I don't know why it didn't have shelves, but it was like, why would you use it if it didn't have shelves in it? You know, and so what was the idea you came up on that?
We just cleated both sides and put some shelves in there, stained it to match pretty close.
Yeah, very close.
Came out really nice, and now you got 3 shelves in it. I think it was a kind of a wardrobe turned into a TV center.
Was that it? Yeah, I think that was it. Was a TV unit, but people don't have. We didn't have a need for that unit.
Right.
So you made this a very useful, functional piece.
Yeah, working on furniture is nice, man. It's old, new, whatever, but it's fun for me.
And then I don't know if I should mention on the air, but I will to give you the credit for the best job you ever did for me. But we're new into the home, and don't ask me how, but somehow I didn't open the garage in time or quickly enough. You know, I had so many units in my car, Thomsen. I had remotes from the old house, new house, and I'm pressing and I'm doing all this stuff, and somehow I forgot to open the garage door. So I will admit it that I went through the garage door with my car, and we thought that was a disaster, Thomsen. I said I'm gonna have to get a new garage door. It'd be very, very expensive, and somehow you were able to put it together.
That was funny. I remember driving up and seeing the big bump on the door, and I came to do something else.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, but spent several hours straightening that garage door up. But it was working, so that's good.
Well, it was working then, but it's working better now. And it's too bad because I was going to blame it on Cynthia, but somehow I told that. But that was
that's pretty bad when you're back through your own from the inside.
from the inside.
Yeah.
Well, that's my concern with the sleep driveway, going down in bad weather, going to go through it. But that was cool because you had never done that before, I guess. Nobody had ever
No,
gone through the garage door.
that's one of those things you just get to figure out as you go, and it's kind of fun. I was so glad I got it done.
Yeah, but I was amazed, that you were able to do it. And you were banging, you were straightening, whatever, but it looks almost as good as new.
Bigger hammer's good
Yeah.
sometime.
Is that it?
We could have left it bumped out like that until you come down your driveway too fast and hit it from the other way.
Well, again, I'll look at Thomsen, and we do this now, Thomsen. We'll look around the house and say, wouldn't this be nice? And we call you up, and, you say, yeah, you can figure out a way to do it. Even you're working now on the, it's a little thing, but I'm not good into little things, I've learned, Thomsen, I don't know about you, but what I'm good at, I do. What I'm not good at, I stay away from. Call Thomsen is a mantra. Even the outside you're working on right now, our deck, we have a beautiful deck, but there was a problem with the deck. What was the problem with the deck?
Cynthia had a screen put on it,
Right.
and it was stapled on the outside instead of up inside where it wouldn't scratch or anything. And I just took it down and cut it and put it underneath so it would be better, look better.
It was also too high,
Yeah, it was.
went
Yeah,
up
it
as
went
well.
up too high.
But a little thing like that, you wouldn't think that it can make a difference in the cat lives or our lives, but you'll kind of look at it and just, I guess, try to figure out what people want. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, exactly what I do. Of course, Cynthia doesn't have any problem telling me what she wants. And there's so many little things around, you just don't notice till you live there a while. The longer y'all live there, the more things will, I think I'd like it this way or that.
Well, another example, you just helped out a neighbor. You were telling me where we used to live, you did a job for them. What was that job?
That his bathroom sink had dripped on his flooring, his laminate flooring, and left a big black rotted place. So I got in there and took out right next to the baseboard and replaced that wood. I think it was 3 pieces, and he had the wood for it. It was just getting around the back of that sink that was difficult to get in there. Sometimes I'm too big to get in places.
Aside from some of the stuff you've done for us, can you think of what's like the most unusual request you've ever had? Or have you ever had an unusual request that somebody wanted something?
No, I had a lady call me that had just moved to Asheville and wanted some blinds hung. And I thought, well, that's good. I'll come over there and hang a few blinds. And she was real nice. And I have to say here, Blaine, being on the show helps because people don't know me. And to go into a stranger's house as a stranger, you got to make them feel comfortable because it's a different world out there now. And I try to do that on the phone before I get there. But some of them will call me and have me do one thing. And then once I get there and do it and they see I'm not a bad guy, I stay for 4 hours doing stuff. But they keep me at bay until they know I'm all right.
Well, with us, for example, we're even going to have like the Thomsen room. We're just trying to create a room for you.
Yeah.
But go ahead, you said with that one woman.
Anyway, so I went over there, and this woman had a very large house, and I hung 14 blinds in one day up and down that ladder. And I mean, tell you, I was, my legs were tired. I was tired. And she said, ooh, that finishes the downstairs. I said, uh-oh. So that's probably the biggest physical challenge I've had.
Had you ever hung blinds before?
Oh, yeah, just a couple at my house, But once you do one, you can do them faster. But, man, 14 of them's a lot in one day. To drill the holes, replace the screws, blah, blah, blah. Real nice house, too.
Well, talking about real nice houses, and we'll go back to your house in a second, too. I understand this is another thing you did for us as a favor for us, but it worked out well, that if you want to see a real waterfall, they come to your house.
That's right. Right.
But it's funny because that was an example of a job you did for us, that we had a real problem in our old home, Biltmore Lake. We had this, how would you describe it? What would you call it?
A water feature?
A water feature.
That's what I call it.
But it's kind of nice. The water cascades down.
Yeah, it comes over the top and runs down this rock that must weigh 50 pounds at least, and then recirculates and goes up. Got a couple of lights on it. It's really nice.
Beautiful thing, but whatever the reason, we couldn't get out of the other house, and so it wasn't working in the other house or something, whatever the reason was, and we didn't want to take it down because there'd be a big hole you know, in the wall, because that was a bear in terms of how it was hung, wasn't it? You said it was very difficult.
Yeah, man, it had, I believe it must have had a dozen screws in the wall. But it was a heavy hang too. And so I got it.
And so not only did he get it, he also, so another service Thomsen offers for people is he'll not only take down stuff, but if you don't want it with you, he'll take it with him. So now it's,
Oh, yeah, Linda loves that too.
Is it-
Now, the waterfall she likes.
Yeah.
But I've been known to bring home old stuff that we don't need.
yeah, you did us a favor the other day. You brought home something and then you showed it to me, the hooks, you know, these infamous hooks,
yeah.
and you put them up in my wall.
Yeah, I got them out of a building I demolished, golly, probably 5 years ago. Contemporary office building
And so you had it around
in Charlotte.
You had it around for 5 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew somebody'd want it at some point.
So, but again, I mentioned that as an example with Thomsen, that we'll say we need something done, and I'll call Thomsen, and 9 out of 10 times you'll say you can do it. You know, we had another problem in the old house, Biltmore Lake House. We had a sink, and we had a problem with the sink. And again, the beauty of working with Thomsen, there are other folks who do similar kind of work, I imagine, but you have a lot of skill sets, it seems like, you know, that aside from just using a you can figure out other stuff as well. So you changed our whole sink around on that one.
And remember, we replaced the whole vanity
The
down there.
vanity
Yeah.
too, because it was the strangest thing. It had deformity or something,
Yeah.
but it just looked terrible. And so you couldn't just replace the sink; you had to replace the whole vanity. And that was kind of a big job for you too, was it?
That was very big. In fact, I hired a guy to come help me with that one. That
Okay.
vanity's too heavy.
Okay.
I try to steer away from real heavy items or I'm not picky, but I try to choose just so I can make sure I do it right.
Or again, a kind of a compliment to you as well is that you'll do 9 out of 10 times things we ask, but I appreciate the fact that when you can't do something, you'll say that as well. Or if it's, I guess, very complex electricity, you know, you can do pretty basic stuff, electrical stuff. But if it's out of your talent skills or wheelbarrow, you'll kind of recognize that or say, get somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
Or we had the other day, you kind of recognized that you can do lots of things, but you didn't want to, for some reason, you didn't want to clean out our septic tank. You know, I was
Some
disappointed.
reason, yeah.
I called them to do this, but we had a very good guy do it, did a great job with it. But it's kind of cool because another service I think you offer to people too, you can also be, from your background, kind of a general contractor. And talk a little bit about that too, that if somebody has a job and even if you don't do it, you can kind of watch it or oversee it or make sure it's done right.
Yeah, I have one client that lives in Florida, and he calls me if he's having, say, a new dishwasher put in his rental house here in Asheville. And I'll go over there and meet the people from wherever he's getting it from, Lowe's, whatever, and make sure it's done right, you know, pulled out and disposed of, and the new one put in. Just kind of overseer, superintendent type stuff.
Well, you know, I don't know if people are getting that listening to the show, but I just can't believe all these things you've done for us. You know, talk about it wasn't a plumbing job, but our infamous dishwasher. Remember the dishwasher?
I do.
And that I'll describe it, and then you'll tell how you handled it. But it was my wife Cynthia had the great idea to put magnets on the dishwasher. And a recommendation to any listeners: don't put permanent magnets on dishwashers because when it came off, it marked the dishwasher. It was in terrible shape. So talk about what you did on that one. Didn't you do that? You didn't do this? I thought you placed the door on the... No, somebody else. That wasn't...
Yeah.
Before, that was
That other guy.
BT, before Thomsen. Anyway, you could have done it. He replaced the whole dishwasher door. But the point I'm trying to make here is that look around your house. If there are things you want kind of done, call Thomsen up and just get his opinion. And he'll say you can do it or not do it. But that was one of the few jobs that was BT before Thomsen, before I met you. You didn't do that job. Thomsen, if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best bet?
Texting, and it's my phone number, of course, on my business cards, but it's 803-804-6038. And that's the best way to get hold of me. Call me or text me, one of the two.
Okay. And I'm impressed the guy into texting. You know, that was a shift for you. But I'll have you repeat that, Thomsen. If anybody wants to get in touch with Thomsen Guth, and I call him my handyman extraordinaire, the best bet is to what? Text you. What's the phone number?
803-804-6038.
Okay. And we'll also give a shout out to Linda's wife that if you text Thomsen, if you can't find Women's Song online or on Facebook, text Thomsen, and he'll get you to the show as well. And it's going to be a fun show. And that dates on that show are when? The Women's Song concert.
I think it's the first part of December. I don't remember the dates. The weekend.
Give Thomsen, text Thomsen, and he'll get you in touch
Yeah, I
with
can
it.
do that.
Anyway, Thomsen, I'd like to thank you for being my guest the second half hour on the Blaine's World show. I don't usually give unsolicited recommendations, but in your case, I will give it, and you are the best.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest. I also like to thank Amy Prisnach, my producer, Suzu Welsh, who did the music at the beginning of the show and at the end. Also my guest on the first half hour, Charlie Wilson. I'll also mention that you'll now be hearing, you can hear the Blaine's World show every Wednesday at 9 a.m. here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. And you can also listen online at WPVMFM.org and watch us on WPVM's Facebook page. Hope to see you folks next week. Thanks for tuning in.